Hey, thank you for joining us, Jason. We I don't know if your ears are burning. We've been talking about you.
Uh, Nothing. That's nothing new. I'm used to it.
Very good, very good. Well, um, actually for Mr. Hammond's benefit. Now, Jason already knows Denver and me, but you kids, why don't we go around the horn again? Lewis, we can start with you. Just do a quick introduction, a little bit about yourself, so that Mr. Hammond can get his bearings.
Hello. I'm Louis Val. A little bit about me, I guess. I'm a pretty big musician, one could say.
Cool.
I like music a lot. Uh, I also uh like cars too. I'm a big old car guy. Yeah.
And soon he'll be 15 in February, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies. Owen, let's go to you now.
So my name is Owen Rhodes. I turned 15 6 days before Lewis, and I go to a private school.
Very good. And Owen was telling us before, I think it'll come back up that he would really love to be an author someday. So maybe to be continued. David, your turn.
My name is David. Um, I turned 12 in April, and uh, I love to play first-person shooters.
Cool.
Wow. And Ben in Texas, your turn.
My name's Ben. Um, my favorite thing I love, um, just like chilling. My favorite thing,
Chilling, you said?
and a bunch of other stuff.
I got it. Got it.
Cool.
So Jason, that's our crew, and as I said to you before, and I was talking with the kids before, just a reminder: the whole idea, we're just kind of wanting to have a conversation, almost like you were sitting around the dinner table with us, and I, just informal and kind of see where it leads. But generally, we've enjoyed over time getting these kids together with adults and just seeing what they can absorb. So I think the main starting point we've talked about with you is just I've always known you as this great connector. Maybe you can give us an overview of kind of your career and the high level, the things, the skills you've needed to have for your career.
Sure. Hopefully I won't bore anybody, but I'll make it short and hopefully not too long. Well, it's nice to meet everybody. I know in your email when you said you referred to the words kids, I'm thinking, how old is my audience going to be? And so, but that's all great and everything. I just wasn't sure and wanted to make sure that what I had to say was tailored and you guys would get something out of what I'm going to say. Well, obviously, Tony and I have known each other, so he invited me. And just a short summary about myself. Have a college degree, obviously. My bachelor's is in business administration and went to college for that, kind of a general one. And then I also have a master's degree in something completely different in theology, actually. And so over the years, I've read a lot. When I was probably your age, 15 or so, getting ready to drive and all that, I always knew I wanted to go to college. I knew that I wanted to have, I was pretty goal oriented. I knew I didn't want to work in a factory. I didn't want to work in a retail store. I didn't want to work weekends. I wanted a Monday through Friday job. And and I knew that by going to college and getting some skills, that would give me more options in my life than if I didn't. Now, not to say that what I studied is meant for everyone, because each of you have already told me a little bit something that you're interested in. Stick with it, and I'm sure something will come about. So, well, I got my degree in business. I had an opportunity to live overseas for a little bit and teach English. And so there's a part of me that maybe Tony and I know a little bit. But we've had some connections because of some interest that I've had in Asia. I've always, even probably when I was younger than you guys on this call, I've always been interested in that part of the world, and I ended up marrying a lady from Taiwan. But we didn't get married till several years later. But my first job ever out of college, I'm from Indiana. I'm from Southern Indiana. And I was, anxious to get started. I wanted to make some money. I wanted to get a paycheck, you know.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I now when I was speaking to these guys here, you know what my first job was in high school when I was about 15? I worked at McDonald's.
Oh,
Yeah, but
sure.
hey, if you have a job like that right now, I don't know if you guys have a part-time job, whatever it is, you can learn something from that job. So when I worked at McDonald's, I think the basic thing was I learned to show up on time. They
Mhm.
said I had to open on the weekends and I had to be there really early. Just showing up on time is a big deal. And just learning to work with people that are different than you, different personalities, is a big thing. It's a big deal. So, that was my first job. And then when I was in college, I worked in a department store and I sold watches, and that was my first sales job. So I had a lot of interaction with the public. People would come in. Sometimes there would be nice customers. Sometimes there would be not so nice customers. I mean, retail is retail, right?
Sure.
And but all looking back, all those basic people skills was invaluable. I don't care if you're a CPA. I don't care if you're an IT, if you're in commercial banking, if you're an account executive, if you're an author, if you work on cars at an auto shop. Those basic people skills are huge. So, and in business, no matter what you do in business, people skills are a big thing. So, and that's where I learned actually a lot of those things that I still take with me today through those jobs when I was in high school, junior high, 15.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jason, could you when you say people skills, could you get kind of specific about what you're referring to when you say people skills?
Sure. You would learn how to have a communicate. You'd learn how to communicate with people. You would learn how to maybe look someone in the eye. You would learn how to sit in a meeting. You would learn how to be engaged with people. You would learn how to respond to things that are asked of you. And those are good things to know how to do. And those are learned skills. Now, all of us, some of us are quiet, some of us are loud, some of us are reserved. Like the reserved and analytical people tend to be like engineers, right? Or people like that. I have friends that are in the science field. They got a PhD in biochemistry. Have no idea about that. And getting a conversation with them is like, um, hello, but that also also their job probably suits them really well. So these people skills, learning how to communicate, learning how to look people in the eye, shaking someone's hand, and interacting and engaging with people, and also learning how to handle conflict, or when
Mhm.
something it comes towards you, am I going to just retreat? Or am I going to just say, okay, there's an issue here and we're going to resolve it? Because life is about solving problems. It's always about solving problems. In IT, you solve a lot of problems, right?
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah,
Mhm.
cybersecurity, all that jazz. Um, but people skills are important, and those are the things that I've learned. And learning how to ask questions to other people, sometimes starting a conversation, How was your weekend? How are you? How's your project going along? What's one thing you want to learn this year? And learning how to ask simple questions like that. So I don't consider myself a very smart person, but I don't know where I learned some of the skills. But I guess because I've always had to work really hard in school. I mean, A's didn't just come to me, but I did okay, I guess. But I got my first job in a sales job, and I was kind of a reserved kid. I wasn't always so outspoken, and I remember I moved to the East Coast. Long story short, and I got my first job in the Boston area. Now I'm a kid from Southern Indiana. Okay.
Yeah.
And I moved to a very big cosmopolitan city like Boston through some connections. And I took a sales job. One, it was an entry level job. I had to live with a bunch of people because I couldn't afford to live there by myself. It was entry level, so and it's so expensive to live there. And and so there I went, and I worked really, really hard at it. I was single, young. I mean, I didn't have a family or anything. I could just move on the whim. And I remember the first week or so that I started this job, I, walk in there. I had a suit on. I wanted to make an impression. Those days, people wore suits. Now, even in banking today, people don't
Yeah.
wear suits.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, people
I
don't
miss
wear a
those
tie.
days.
Yeah, and I wore a suit every single day. And I remember the boss that hired me, the guy that hired me, he put a sheet of paper down on my desk and he said, "You need to call these people and make an appointment." I'm like, what do I say to them? You know? And that was my first training experience in a sales job.
Mm.
So much of my job or career has been in a sales oriented role. And I worked hard at this company for a number of years, 8 or 9 years actually, but I worked in different locations and built my skills up talking on the phone. I would talk to a purchasing manager. If you know what that is, they usually control the money. And or I would talk to an operations manager, and they were very short. They wanted me to be to the point, no fluff. They were busy, and sometimes you have to learn just to take that because that's business sometimes. And so over time, working in that job, I learned those skills. And one, because if you didn't sell anything, you wouldn't have a job. And number two, it was important to get the appointments and sell stuff and to be successful. Sales is sales, right?
Sure.
So I worked that job for a number of years and then worked at some different locations with that job, and then went to school again. And then, long story short, I'm making this very short. And then we end up moving here to Indianapolis. My wife and I did. And that's actually when I got into the technology area, office technology, managed services a little bit.
Hmm.
Tony's
Hmm.
knows what I'm talking about now. But again, these companies that I worked for did not care if I was very analytical or not. They didn't care about that. They had people they knew all the really technical things. They wanted someone like me that could go out and get an appointment so we could talk to them how we could help them.
Yeah. So Jason, getting an appointment, that's an interesting concept and an interesting idea. And I'll
Hmm.
just share with you before you came on, we were the kids were all talking about what they, kind of like what they think their career aspirations might
Yeah.
be. And at first glance, none of those would probably elicit this idea that I need to be a salesperson. So I'm going to pick on Owen, for
Hmm.
example. So Owen said, I really want to be an author. Can you take your sales brain and your networking brain, and
Hmm.
with even just a basic understanding of the type of people you need to know if you really want to be an author.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you talk about how if you wanted to be an author as a youngster, how would you use these sales skills that you have now? What would that look like?
Yeah, great question. So, Owen, the to be author, you have an idea, right? You're going to write something. I have no idea about writing, but that's fantastic. And maybe one of these days I'll read your book. But when you have an idea and you want to tell someone about it, you want them to what? Listen to you, right? Because if they don't listen to you, then you're not going to be able to tell them what you could do or write. So basically, Owen, you have to sell yourself. You're not really going to sell a book or something, you have to kind of sell yourself so that they would be interested enough in you to talk to you about your ideas. Why should they talk to you? Um, and so there's a word that is often used. It's called branding. And they'll say, "What's your brand?" When I'm out somewhere, maybe I'm at a networking event, maybe I'm with, other people, even at the poker nights,
Yep.
that I'm really not there to sell anything because my role has changed over the years. I'm selling kind of myself, again, can I talk to people? Am I engaging with them? They may remember me because I asked something about them that was important to them. Because everybody likes to talk about themselves, right? You want to talk about what you can write. So when you are meeting people, you're talking to people, um, put your best foot forward and ask questions, start a conversation when it's right, when you're ready to, and just sell yourself.
I think of when I think about the artistic people I know, and like so,
Yeah.
for example, my mother is an author.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Owen's aunt is a best-selling author. We just found out earlier. Um,
Cool.
or music people. Lewis wants to be a musician. You hear ideas floated like, well, you'd better find a good agent, or you'd better find a good manager, something like that. So I think from an artistic person's standpoint, they're thinking, what do I know about finding maybe I know of a good manager, but what do I know about contacting a manager? I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm creating
Right.
something, I'm
Mhm.
writing something. Let's take a specific task, let's say Lewis gets to the point where he wants a manager. And he's done some research to find 20 of the best. Now use your salesman's brain. How might you approach those people? What would that look like?
And I'd like to add on to that
Sure,
question
sure.
actually.
Mhm.
Uh, in that certain situation, I'd want to find a manager. Uh, yeah, how would I set that up? And would it would it help? And in what way would it help, if so, to have a sales background like you?
So you want to find a manager, right?
Hmm.
So you have to do a little research. You have to contact them, right? Because again, I've never had a manager for anything. So it's going to take a little initiation. You know what that is? Like, no one's going to come to you and say, "Hey,
Hmm.
what kind of ideas do you have?" It's just not going to happen that way. Um, so there's the part of you where you're going to have to do, and what I've always done in my life is called cold calling. And cold calling is basically, "Hey, I'm going to contact this guy because I want to talk to him. He needs to know what I can do." Now, you, as maybe more on the artistic side with ideas, not a salesperson, but you're going to have to use the skills of communication, initiation, maybe be a little bold. You have to be bold. Salespeople are usually not meek and weak, because you have to be not rude, not um, um, ballistic, but you have to have a little bit of gut, and you have to have a little bit of what's the word I want to use?
Courage,
Courage, courage,
fearlessness.
fearlessness. And I let me tell you something about this cold calling. I've talked to other cold salespeople over the years. None of us like cold calling. None of us do. None of us like to pick up the phone and call people, but it's part of our job and we have to do it. We just have to. And so sometimes maybe we're afraid what to say. We don't know what we're talking about. We come off like stupid, but you do have to have courage. And you can have courage and boldness and initiation and not be a salesperson. But those are some of the skills that you may want to, that I would recommend using, especially if you want to get your ideas out there. Now, you might be saying, well, I'm not like that. Well, a lot of us can learn those skills. The skills can be learned.
Yeah, and I think if I understood Lewis's question correctly, I think he was saying if I had sales skills, like real sales experience, then tackle this problem, would I be better off? And it is that what you were asking, Lewis? Like if
Yeah,
yeah,
roughly.
yeah,
I
which
think I think it would help you. I think it may help you get the initial conversations going that you need, maybe.
yeah, yeah, and it occurs to me, Jason, and let's see if you would agree. I think what sales experience does for a person is it helps you get over the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pick up the phone, or I'm gonna have to send an email, or God forbid, I'm gonna have to go knock on someone's door. And what if they say no? Because wouldn't you agree in the sales game, what you learn very quickly is almost all the time you're gonna hear no.
Correct.
Almost all the
That,
time.
that's right.
So
You,
it's interesting as Owen is, pushing his book to the next publisher or whatever. If he already knew, oh, this is what the sales game is, you're gonna hear no, and you almost some of the best salespeople I've heard, Jason, they're almost looking for the no because they know that that's then closer. That's one more no that eventually is going to get them to a yes down the road. Maybe you got to hear 99 no's before you hear the one yes.
that's the usual case.
Very interesting.
And then if someone calls you back or responds, you take those little victories as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So, so Ben talked about a career in the military. David talked about maybe wanting to do something with architecture. And so this makes me pivot slightly to another thing about you, Jason, that I've noticed over time. And you mentioned in general over time the way people dress in the business world, it's kind of become more and more casual. But having said that, you have always struck me as a guy who is you 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 clearly put a lot of thought into your appearance and your it's well done, it's careful. And can you and I think for good reason, right? Can you talk about maybe is that true, or you how do you approach that part of your presence, and what does that mean to your career?
Um, well, I guess number one, I don't want to look like a slob. Uh, Number two, I don't work at McDonald's anymore. So, but number three, there's a phrase that sometimes you would hear dress like the job or the position that you want to be in. And so it when it's basically it's kind of a discipline thing. But hopefully I'm answering your question. But yeah, I think because in the type of work that I do, because I am client facing, their impression that not only am I there or have been in the past to talk to them about something, that I'm prepared enough to present myself as a person that they would want to talk to. So yes, the way you dress in the business world, um, does matter because it also shows some other things that you can't always put a word on: discipline, professionalism, preparedness, um, and and that's important because that kind of flows through on some of the other things that you do.
Yeah, the way I see it is there's like what happens in life, and and as a kid you aren't necessarily aware of this, but we'll give you guys a shortcut. The way life works as you become an adult is people are trying to assess you fairly quickly because
That's correct.
no one has the time. Let's say I'm thinking about I need let's say I need a new architect at my firm, and David's one of 10 guys up for the job. I don't have the time to become David's friend for the next 3 months and hang out with him and see, what do I think of him on a day-to-day basis. That's not the way life works.
That's right.
I need something short and efficient. So I look for cues. If I see, wow, David's his shirt is nicely pressed and he's wearing a jacket. Everything matches. His shoes are nicely polished. You can just this says a lot about David without ever having to hear him say any words.
That's correct.
And so as and think about the military for Ben. My gosh,
Oh, discipline.
they put so much emphasis on how you polish your boots, how your bed is made. That's the whole thing. And so as you're rising up the ranks, people above you, again, they're looking at this shortcut. They're
Mhm.
and so I think the way life works a lot as we're trying to find our way is people basically, maybe even subconsciously, are just thinking, am I going to hitch my wagon to this person? Am I going to team up with, is this person on my team or not?
Mhm.
And we're looking at all these shorthand things. So
Yeah.
even though Owen, maybe what should only really matter at all is just Owen's writing, because the editor or the publisher is a human being, he or she is also going to be just looking at, does Owen look like he can run his life? Is he not a basket case? Can he tie his shoes? Can he brush his teeth? Okay, good. If there's two guys submitting good books
Yeah.
and one guy looks like a complete mess and the other guy looks like
Walked off
Owen.
the street or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Very interesting. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it does show a lot of preparedness, and it does flow through how you present yourself.
yeah. So to pick on one of you kids, Lewis, I'll pick you. So I'm curious to hear from you. If you came away from this conversation and said, okay, what I learned is I can't just be a musician. I need to devote some part of my skill set to sales. How do you feel about that?
I I I kind of expected that from when I really looked into music, but I I really didn't think as far as, appearance wise. I mean, I knew, don't show up in like a t-shirt and gym shorts, but I think, the more effort you put into your look and even maybe the way you talk or make eye contact with someone could really affect, especially in the music business, because it's such a critical thing. The higher up you get in the chain, the people that are in power in music
Mhm.
are true businessmen.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that's
Yeah,
true.
that probably a huge problem in music, for example, is it seems like there's a lot of addiction problems, things like that. And if I'm a record executive, it's going to be a huge investment to back some artist, and they're still going to look to this shorthand. Am I going to put the money behind the guy who seems like he's living on a mattress in a back alley somewhere, but his music is great? Or am I going
Yeah.
to invest in the guy that seems put together and shows up on time and seems professional? I think it's going to be the latter.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Um, so Jason, this idea that no one likes to make cold calls, but everyone does it. So what are some tricks that you've learned over time to getting yourself to actually do it? How do you do the things you don't want to do?
Well, you kind of just think of one, you just do it. Two, you could think of the rewards that it can produce. Like for example, if I do make these calls and having that goal of that's you're getting close to goals that were given, you can meet your goals. I guess thinking in the long term, like this is going to do me some good. I don't know if that answers, your question, but when I like back to that first job when he handed me that sheet of paper, make some appointments, talk to him about what. Um, I mean, I knew I had to do it as part of my assigned job, but I think that looking at the long term of how it can shape you, kind of like exercise, you know. When you kind of force yourself to get into do something that's going to benefit you, that's the way I've kind of looked at it. Because I knew
Got it.
that the more that I would do that, the more, um, you know, I'm not saying that there's times even now like, okay, I'll call them, or maybe I'm not sure, or kind of doubting myself. But it would definitely give you once you start doing that, you'll have more confidence. And when you experience that confidence in yourself, and again, I'm not talking about that you think you're better than other people. I'm just talking about that you have the confidence because you know that you have something to offer someone. For that first job, I had a product that I could offer that could help these people, these
Hmm.
clients, these customers. You guys, when you're talking about being an architect, being in the military, being music, you have something you can offer people that people can enjoy, listen to, read, look at. And so when you think about how they're going to benefit from that will motivate you to press on and develop the skills that you need so that you can present yourself, present your ideas, and get people to talk to you.
Hmm.
Questions. Who else has questions for Mr. Hammond?
We don't have any questions, but we do need to go. I'm sorry to cut it short.
Yes, yes, I
Thank
remember.
you.
Thank you, Amber and
Thank
Ben. Good to
you.
see
Nice
you
to meet
guys.
everybody.
David, here's a question for you. Something I'm curious to hear from you. So, in we're hearing from Mr. Hammond about essentially how, like, almost how to make friends or to be likable. I'm curious to hear from you. Do you feel like in your life so far, can you think of experiences like everyone needs a friend? How have you do you think you've been good at making friends and like what have you learned about how you do it, how it works?
I sometimes I can make friends like at a random place, but like in school, somebody that I don't talk to, I don't necessarily make friends, but I like if they're alone, I can't necessarily say no. Like if somebody asks me to partner with them, no matter if I hate them or not, I can't necessarily say no to them. So
So
I guess
you're a yes man.
be nice is key, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one thing I remember about you, David, the very first time you joined us for the very first conversation, you said, do you remember one of the first things you said to me about what you would never do?
Be
You,
on camera, wasn't
yeah,
it?
he said I'd never be on camera. Just so you know, I'm never going to be on camera. And then that lasted maybe 1 week.
Well, you're doing a good
Mhm.
job. You're doing a really
I
good
think,
job.
yeah, 1 week. Thank you.
Very nice. Now, Owen, here's a question for you, and I could just as easily, I might ask the same question to Lewis. We'll see. But so, Owen, Mr. Hammond talked earlier about he wasn't necessarily naturally an outgoing person, like a outgoing people person. And that strikes me as you. You're like a reserved, more kind of keep to yourself a little bit. Do you do you feel like you're gonna be able to get yourself to do some of these things, some of these kind of sales type things if you need to? How do you think that's gonna look?
So I think it'll be hard at first, but once I start like doing it for a job, it will get easier. Also with being like just keeping to myself, that's more like around strangers and people I don't talk to. Like
Mhm.
Lewis, I go to school with Lewis, so I can easily talk to him.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Got it. Yeah, but I think you're right. It's like um that's very wise. Just the more you do something, even if you don't like it, it's going to get easier and easier. Lewis, what about you? Look into the future. How do you think it's going to be if you decide, okay, I've got to get some people on my team. I'm going to have to knock on some doors. How would that feel?
It'd be difficult. I've never been good at uh, really confronting people about, or just to talk to them. Usually, what will happen is I'll be forced into some conversation with them somehow. Like I'll be in a group, and the said person will just happen to be there, and then a friendship will spark. But I can't really. I haven't developed the go out, fly solo, and pick someone up on my own. So I think it'll be hard once I start doing that, but it'll be good.
Yeah. So Jason, could you talk about more about like how at the beginning, how unnatural was some of this stuff for you? And how did you develop into what you can do now?
Well, that's a good question. I think one thing that you said, the more you do of something, of anything, it'll get a little bit easier, like picking up the phone and calling people. Two, I guess I think I had the desire to uh I'm very goal oriented. I knew I wanted to be successful and I wanted to do well. I think that was a big part of me um, making improvements in some of the skills that I had. And then another person, who has said he was reserved. Your job can be a training ground for you to help develop some of those skills. If you're a musician, by the way, most musicians I know are usually up in front of people, right? Because you're playing
Hmm.
music. You know, people are looking at you.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to be in the spotlight. I actually don't always like to be in the spotlight. I can't play music and I can't sing. So I definitely wouldn't want to be in the spotlight for that. But people are going to be looking at you. So, I mean, you don't seem to be camera shy. So, uh,
Yeah.
there's a skill that you're gonna get really good at because of what you're going to be doing. For those of you that write, there's probably going to be opportunities or requirements for you to stand in front of a group of people to present your work and discuss it because people want to know what you wrote about. You know, I hear about people presenting their book, presenting their music. So, your job, if you don't think you're good at that kind of stuff now, that's okay because your career or what you want to do in the future will help you train some of those areas where you may feel like you're weak in. And so you want to be good at music, right?
Hmm.
By the way, what kind of music do you like? I forgot to ask.
I, I'm a pretty broad music taste, but my favorite is like 70s and 80s yacht rock in a way.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mm.
I'm an 80s kid, so anything from the 80s is good to me. Uh, but yeah, so you want people to listen to that. You want people to listen. And do you play guitar,
Mostly piano.
piano? Oh, cool, cool. So yeah, you want people to listen to that.
Hmm.
And so that's gonna just help you develop those skills. And you may have to talk to people about your music. So which brings me to another side thing, public speaking skills. That is one of the worst things. That's one of the things that people fear the most is speaking in public. Here it can be a little intimidating if we don't know each other and we're on camera. But in front of a group of people it can be kind of intimidating. Sometimes internally, like we have a lot of calls at work, a lot of Teams calls, and sometimes you may be called on, at times to kind of input your what you think. They do like you to be engaged in calls, not to snooze off. And so Tony probably knows. Um, but I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, these skills can be learned as part of your job.
Yeah, public speaking. That makes me think again, getting back to David, when he started doing these video podcasts with us, and as I said, he said, I'm not even going to go on camera. And then it morphed into, okay, I'll be on camera. And then it was, I want to lead a show. David, I'll ask you, do you, so I observed, I feel like show to show, progress. You got better and better at that. Do you feel the same way? And how do you think that happened? Mr. Hammond is talking about verbal skills, public speaking skills, and you got better. What's your experience with being on the show?
Well, the first question, yeah, I do you think that at first I didn't want to, then I said fine, and now I just start to want to do it. And um I think it happened because I got used to the people around me and I started knowing them better, and so I felt more comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
And-
and to add on to what you said about not snoozing off during Zoom calls, I definitely need that skill.
That will come in handy, let me tell you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so Owen, you mentioned you're comfortable with people you know already, but strangers, you're not necessarily comfortable talking to strangers. The That's probably going to need to change though as you morph into an adult. How do you think that might happen? What's going to be your strategy for developing that skill?
Um, So it's like starting off like asking for someone to look at my book to be published.
Mm,
I I need to do that. They won't come to me.
Hmm.
So it just I would need to have that um motivation, and if I am serious about writing, then I can't um I just need to do it.
yeah. Do your parents know you're super serious about writing?
Um they know it's a like thing I like to do.
Yeah. I would love it if you do ask your aunt. Jason, we were saying before he
Hmm.
was Owen shared with us before you came on, his aunt's a best-selling author. I said, have you asked her how she did it? He said no. So
Maybe it's been on the New York Times publishing list or whatever.
yeah, so Owen, you need to ask your aunt and then report back to our group. Actually, like that would be. Do you how often do you get to talk to her, Owen?
So I haven't really been talking to her recently just because I finished my apprenticeship and I only reached out to her for that. I also have a lot of things to catch up on,
Yeah,
so I haven't really been writing
yeah, yeah.
as often.
What we should do is have her be a guest on this. We can
Mhm.
get all the details, all the details. As Mr. Hammond was saying, you learn to ask questions, right, Jason?
Hmm. Right.
That's it. It's all who you know. Well, Jason, thank you so much. It's really been lovely having you in our group. I really appreciate it. And
Well, I appreciate it too. Thank you very much.